Yeah, on to Michigan State. I think that the Purdue game was some good, some bad, some ugly, some not so ugly. I think it was a credit to our guys, the fight, the level of play in an extremely tough environment. After getting down 20-4 against the number one team in the country, and just kind of possession by possession, finding a way to get back in it, not once but multiple times. And I didn't think we were ultra competitive on the glass. Biggest downside of that game was that, and something we have not been very often. And we have to get back to rebounding the basketball at the level we know we're capable of. I think we're sixth offensively and, I don't know, somewhere in the 40s defensively. But we have to do a much better job. Part of that was our coverages on Zach. Put us in some rotations. But we have to get much more from Marcus, from Luke, from Justin, even Coleman on the offensive glass. We have to get much better efforts from those guys rebounding the basketball. But it's a team rebound concept, and Purdue again were the aggressors in that game, and it showed. But a lot of positives. I thought we obviously, Marcus got going offensively. We got him in some situations where he was very difficult to guard. We found some lineups that worked, put them in a lot of distress with the decision to either play big or small for them. And Coleman was a big part of that. But we had the second highest OER until last night that anybody had against them. And again, doing that on the road, I think shows the connectivity, the toughness, the grit that this team has. And now it's Michigan State coming off a loss. They've won 5 of 6. It's it's a guard-oriented team. They return a tremendous amount of experience and firepower and athleticism at the guard spot. Walker's obviously one of the elite guards in not just the Big Ten but in the country. And then they've got a plethora of bigs. One thing with Michigan State, they're going to be elite in transition. They're going to compete on the glass, and they're going to guard you. So, it's a great opportunity to play against a very good basketball team. They're battle tested. They've played some folks, as Tom's teams always do, and you expect a rock fight when you face them. So. We'll have to be ready to go tomorrow night at 8.
Marcus giving you the production he's given you so consistently over the past 2 weeks. How does that allow you to kind of build your offense or the rest of your offense?
Yeah, Marcus elevates. It's not just Marcus's points. Marcus is, he's had double-digit assist games. He's it's putting him in positions to. At his size and skill set, he's starting to shoot three much better. We all know he's got a long history of being a very good three-point shooter. He got off to kind of a tough start, but I think he's feeling a little more comfortable in his role, and that's evidenced by his productivity. He's shooting at a pretty high clip. His conditioning, I think he's one of the best conditioned athletes I've coached, and we're asking a lot of him, but. He's very capable, and he's been spectacular.
As a follow-up, he seems to be one of the most unique players in the conference, if not the nation, in how he plays. Was it something you kind of were seeking, or was, hey, we found a guy and we're going to fit him in because of you liked what he has?
Both. A combination of all that. One, we obviously went 0-3 against Penn State, facing something very similar to that last year. We knew we had that with Ty. And now we felt like we could utilize that again with Marcus in the process. And There's a lot of ways to get closer to the basket to score. It's the way the rules of the game are. Makes it very hard to defend when you can't armbar, when somebody turns their back, when you can't touch them when they're facing you. He's a 90% free throw shooter. That's a pretty good asset, and and then he can play in ball screens as well. So we knew what we were getting. He's exceeded the success rate maybe that even I thought he would have.
Quincy took a pretty nasty fall on his wrist at Purdue. He said he was hurting him. Is there an update? Like, do you think that'll limit him in any capacity moving forward?
No, he's good. He's good. He shot the cover off of it Sunday in practice, so he's fine.
Hey, Brad, you played with kind of a shorter rotation here recently. I know some of that is Nico's injury, obviously Sincere and Terrence and whatnot. But do you need more from the bench? Do you feel okay with giving them loads of minutes to the starters that you are, or do you want more off the bench in terms of production and also minutes?
Well, I think you always want your best players on the court who are playing the best as much as possible. I mean, that's how you win at the high major level. You don't win putting bad players out there. I don't want to say bad players, but putting bad combinations or guys that aren't your best. And I think that obviously the other night Ty was sick, had a fever. He's been battling through that. He was back in practice yesterday. That hurt us. We miss his rebounding. We miss his vulnerability. So it was kind of one man down with that. But the one thing I do feel great about, like Coleman can go all day. Coleman never gets tired. He's a Trent Frazier-like in that area. He's unique in terms of his ability to. From a conditioning standpoint, Marcus has proven throughout his career he's a 35-minute-a-game guy, and he's pretty comfortable in that. So, was it going to be a 40-minute a night deal for him? Probably not most nights, but getting down 16-4 or 20-4 didn't give me many options either, or make me feel very comfortable. So, just kind of the way it went. But I love our bench. I think Draven gave us great minutes. I think we'll continue to see some minutes for him in those spots, and we've obviously got to find the right opportunities to get Dane on the court because he impacts the game.
Brad, a lot of coaches say you learn more about your team in losses than wins. In this loss to Purdue, what did you learn about this group this year?
Well, I've said it all the time. And it's getting pretty redundant. I mean, we're a really connected team that likes each other, and that was very evident. It's very easy to have teams that just fold and quit when you're down 20-4 and say, tonight's not our night. That's not our DNA. That's not who we are. And to come back not once but twice. Purdue did what a number one team should do. They make a run and they're at home and they've got their fans going nuts, and they thrived on that emotion. It's what makes league play so special. But we kept fighting, and that's pretty powerful for me as a coach to believe in those guys like that and know that that's our makeup.
You mentioned after the Purdue game just that you got out of rhythm offensively. How do you maybe approach that as coach in terms of maybe letting them try and play through it as opposed to maybe making a change and trying something different?
Well, I let them play through it. I didn't call timeouts, and I kind of just, too early. I thought that, we had a pretty good idea that, Zach might be on Ty. To start that game, and Zach is so unique. I mean, there's nobody 7'5" and like that. But in Ty's, when Kansas did it with Hunter in the exhibition, he destroyed it. And we've seen it before. So Zach's unique, but I think the one thing that you find your balance. Your team. Sometimes you got to call them a lot quicker. I've had games in my past where I burned all my timeouts in the first half to try to get it changed or try to figure out the lineups. And We found some lineups, especially in the second half, that we felt really, really good with, and Luke was shooting the cover off of it, and we know Justin's been on a pretty good run, so it was just a lineup we felt great with. But you kind of mix and match, and sometimes it's a momentum thing, sometimes it's a lineup thing, sometimes it's an execution thing, and we kind of went to our kind of 5-out package to change momentum and got away from the booty ball stuff a little bit, and that really got us back into it as well.
Big Ten teams are overwhelmingly, it's like 21-6 at home this year, so it probably goes without saying, but what's the importance for you guys this week of kind of holding court with these two big home games?
I don't put any value on a home or road game. It's the opponent. And it's what makes this league great. It is the true challenge of the greatness of this league is finding a gold bar, as I call it, and a gold bar is one that you can go steal from an opponent's place with a victory, and you just put that in the bank. And those things are really, really hard to get. And we have one. At Rutgers, and you've got to protect your home. You've got to fight. Because everybody's trying to get them. And when you've got great coaches, and you've got great players, and you've got the longevity of a 20-game season, everything's about the game in that moment.
This is probably just recency on my part, but just to have a team where you can maybe shift gears offensively, like you have been able to do. I don't know, have you had teams like that where you could just do something entirely different and it still be maybe a really good option? Yeah,
Oklahoma State. That team was. I think my teams at SFA were the fewest ball screens of any team in the country. We just had guards that couldn't play in them. So it kind of limited how we played. We could do a lot of different things at Oklahoma State because we had versatile, skilled players. This team, for the first couple of years we couldn't do anything offensively. It was a challenge. But we do have some versatility. I think we're 6 today in offense. We can we have veteran guys who can pick things up if we make subtle changes. That's a tribute to our players, and a lot of that's stemming from Coleman. A pick and pop 5 who can shoot it and space the floor, and teams have to adjust, and then having multiple guards who can post it, and spacing them with shooters. So, if we don't like that, we've spent all summer working on some 5-out motion stuff, and we went to it in the Purdue game, and it was good for us.
Brad, I know Draven got in a little foul trouble, but it seemed like he sparked you for a little bit early defensively. Is that something you think he's capable of doing?
Yeah, I love it. Draven's an elite athlete, and he competes like crazy. And he's typical of a freshman that he's got to quit using his hands. But he gets over ball screens. He can be an elite defender, and he's buying into that a lot more now, and knows that can be his key to more minutes. And he did impact the game. There's no doubt. And as we move forward, that's going to be a huge piece for us.
I know you mentioned Amani had some back spasms before Purdue. Is that cleared up? Do you expect him to be available this week?
Don't know till probably game time today, or today. It's been day to day, getting those things handled.
So after Michigan State's loss at Northwestern, Tom Izzo kind of talked about analytics, and he said feels like they're phony. I know you use them. Where do you kind of stand maybe on the balance of that and the intrinsic things I think that Tom was talking about?
Well, I think there's value in them, but I also think that he and I think alike in one area. I think you realize what it takes to win, and winning is competing. Winning is fighting. It's usually the team that plays the hardest. It's the team that is the most connected It's the grit. It's the who's going to find a loose possession, who's going to get an extra rebound. Ultimately, that wins. Ultimately, that you can have the best. You guys can all go draw up plays that would work for us, and that's fine. That's part of coaching. But if you can't get them connected and playing together and playing hard and fighting and playing harder than the opponent, more often than not, those nights you're not going to win. And he and I believe in that. And there's no analytics to that. I just choose to use analytics in a way to help teach and coach and motivate. And that's one of the philosophies I've adapted to. But a fight and finding guys who compete and want to win, and I say it all the time, winning's really, really hard. And finding that little edge to figure out how to win at this level is the difference between great and good, and nobody's done great better than Tom Izzo over his career.
On the note of hunger and effort, do you take any stock of what a team did in the last game, like Michigan State getting beat that way at Northwestern? Obviously, you guys are coming off a loss too, but just that they might come in with an extra bite because of that?
Oh, you don't think? I asked my team that. What would you think listening to that press conference? Look at the other way. Look at what Chris Collins got his Northwestern team to do. They got beat 30 on the road, and went in and just and to be honest, forced Coach Izzo to have those statements about because they played with a different edge. They played with a different fight and different than they did against us, and that's what so much of the game is about, and that's what Tom's talking about in those statements. So. I don't know whether he's gotten the pads out. I would fully expect him to, but we better expect that. If we don't, we're going to take it. We're going to get bloodied in the battle, and it's a kind of first punch mentality, and you can't get punched. You may get knocked out.
I know we talk about Luke's shooting a lot. What are the other parts of his game that give you confidence to play him the amount that you play him, especially recently?
Yeah, Luke makes us better. I mean, from the standpoint that he creates opportunities that drawing defenders away from the paint, drawing defenders to him. You can't lose him. People are always he's a guy that because of his prowess, he's towards the top of everybody's scouting report. And top of the scouting report guys are really important. And he's got a niche in being able to shoot that basketball that is very, very valuable. And whether it's 4 times or whether it's 14 times, every time he lets it go, I think he's going to make it. And he's a sneaky, really good defender because he's very smart. And he's, we've got to get him back rebounding. He hadn't had a very pleasant week listening to me talk about his rebound total the other night, but Luke will do that because he cares.
But I have to ask, I know it's a couple days away, but Terrence there's a TRO for him on Friday. If that's granted, is it your intent to play him, or is that a conversation you guys have had yet?
There's no change in Terrence's status as of now. I'm worried about Michigan State, so we'll worry about it if Tom Izzo's enough to worry about, and Tyson Walker, so we'll deal with that. When and if.
I guess this is just our weekly Nico question, but where's he at maybe in his return to play process?
He's in practice. I think he is meeting with a doctor tonight, maybe, or tomorrow. But he has looked really good, and he's been really solid in practice. And until we get to final, I would think it's probably a game time decision based on what the doctors say in another day of practice.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's head down to the court.